While Donald Trump is making preparations to return to the presidency, Democrats are still trying to figure out where they went wrong in this election and, frankly, where the party goes next. Becky Anderson spoke about the state of U.S. politics with American sports journalist Stephen A. Smith, who is also reportedly negotiating a mega deal with ESPN. Their wide-ranging discussion happening at the Melt Middle East event in Abu Dhabi. Here's part of that conversation.
You've been very vocal about the election and Kamala Harris's loss.
Yes.
Where do you think the Democratic Party should go from here?
I think they're an absolute mess. I think that what they did during this election against Donald Trump was nothing short of pathetic. And they have to really, really go back to the drawing board and look in the mirror and take a long, hard look at who they are and whether or not they are truly the representatives of the people, because right now they're not. The Democratic Party for decades has been seen as somebody that was connected to the working class. Somehow, some way during the Trump campaign, the Republicans stole that from them. And what happens is that, too much hypocrisy is going on, too much leaning towards the extreme left. America, as I think is the case with most of the world, are predominantly centrist. You're centrist, you're center left or you're center right, which means that you might have your proclivities, you might have your tendencies, you might have your preferences, but ultimately you want everybody to get along and you want to be able to talk with one another, communicate with one another, conduct business with one another, engage in compromising, etc. And unfortunately, we didn't see that from the Democratic Party. They complained about it from the right. Then when they got hold of power, they leaned to the extreme left, started engaging in a bunch of nonsense where you're operating on the fringes. The MAGA right did it extremely with the right. The left did it extremely with the left, and you forgot about the center. And what happened was that it wasn't just like in 2020, it wasn't a vote for Biden, it was a vote against Trump. In 2024, it wasn't a vote for Trump, it was a vote against woke culture. And that's what happened, and they got exposed for it. And now they've got to go back to the drawing board because the Republicans have control of the White House, the House, and the Senate, and the Supreme Court. And as far as I'm concerned, with Musk and Ramaswamy in there, Wall Street as well. So I'm looking at all of those different things, and I'm saying you really, really, really messed up if you're the Democratic Party, because you took for granted the voters who have supported you all of these years. You forgot about them, leaning to the extreme left, and you got your comeuppance. You got what you deserved.
What is the impact of an ineffective Democratic Party on America going forward?
Well, I would tell you that in the eyes of a lot of minorities in this country, it would be a step back in terms of the progress that has been made as it pertains to civil rights, as it pertains to an abundance of other things. Whether that's factually correct or not remains to be seen, but that clearly is the fear. When you look at things like Project 2025, there's a lot of things in terms of women's rights, there's a lot of things in terms of civil rights, not just for African Americans and minorities in this country, but women as a whole, that people have concerns about. Now, they might be overblown. It might be people engaging in fear-mongering, we shall see. But in the end, the fact is that when you look at the GOP, they have control. And if they're catering to their constituency and there's a constituency that's saying that's what they're looking for, then that's a fear that you have to address. And again, the Democratic Party put themselves in that position because the reason, in my opinion, why Trump really won the election is because as chaotic and as divisive as he may be, he was considered closer to normalcy than what the left was forcing us to inhale, if you can believe that, in the United States. And so when that happened, and you saw America stand up, and you saw, even though he might have lost New York and California, he didn't get 50% of the popular vote, he still won the popular vote, he still won the Electoral College vote. There were blacks, there were Latinos, there were women, and of course white folks, all increasing in their numbers in terms of supporting him compared to what they did in 2020. That is the ultimate indictment against the Democratic Party. And then they tried to guilt us into voting for them by saying, oh, misogyny must be it. You're not voting for her because she's a woman. That made no sense. They voted for Hillary in 2016. She won the popular vote in the United States. Where was the women issue then? Stop it. You lost because you didn't. I'm not talking about Kamala Harris. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. You lost because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And as a result, you alienated the American public and turned them against you. You brought it on yourself.